Well, she does represent change. She wants to turn us into a communist country. That's her change. She was voted the most unpopular vice president in history. That's hard for a vice president to be that unpopular, right? On the one hand, you have a radical left puppet candidate who is fake, fake, fake. And on the other hand, you have a president who will fight, fight, fight. How the hell do you get elected, right? You know how they get elected? By cheating. They get elected by cheating. But as we're fighting to bring back the American dream for you and your family, the radical left Democrat Party bosses have installed a puppet candidate to fight only for themselves. Kamala Harris got 0 votes. She's totally scripted, owned, and controlled by the donors and the power brokers who created her campaign and who rip off our government and make billions and billions of dollars. They want to call them up and they want to deal with her. And I didn't deal like that. I never dealt like that. I didn't need the money. I said, no, I don't want to do that. I told a lot of guys that I like and some guys that I don't like, but very rich people, I just can't do that. I can't do it. They want to do the telephone systems. They want to do lots of little things like that. We'd like to take over the telephone system of the United States. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But unlike her, I cannot be bought and I cannot be controlled. I have no interest in that. My only loyalty is to you, the people. And you know that. Oh, I could have had such a nice, easy life. I could be at a nice place right now, relaxing, watching the waves breaking. But I'd rather be right here in Harrisburg with you. People that built our country. You're the people that built our country. I mean, some people don't like saying that, but you are indeed the people that built the country. We have, no matter where we go, we have the most incredible people. After lying to the country for years about Joe Biden's mental and physical condition, Kamala is now being given a personality makeover. Don't forget, 4 weeks ago, she was like considered the worst. Not smart, terrible, the worst vice president in history. He's the worst president we've ever had. But they were considered terrible. And all of a sudden, she's the new Margaret Thatcher. That happened, right? The great Margaret Thatcher. No, I don't think so. But you're gonna learn little things like defund the police. That doesn't work, does it, huh? You're gonna learn. Because everything about Kamala Harris rollout, it's phony and it's fake. Did you see when President Obama and Michelle called? Did you see? Hello? Hello? Yes. Yes. Who is this? Oh, this is Michelle and Barack. Oh. So surprised to hear. They got 4 cameras in front. Oh, I'm so surprised. It's on speakerphone. Listen, we just want to congratulate you on destroying Joe Biden. I mean, on winning the... Hey, is Joe Biden was that the phoniest phone call you've ever seen? How do you think, Dan? What do you think? Dan Muser, great congressman. What do you think? Was that a phony phone call? You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't get away. In your district, you wouldn't get away with it, would you? But she's a defund the police radical trying to pass herself off as a tough on crime prosecutor. She wasn't tough on crime. She's only tough on guys like me because they want to go after their political opponents. And we won the big case in Florida. Did you see? We won it. And he had a similar case, but it was much worse, and he didn't have the Presidential Records Act. He had a similar case, and you know, the special counsel, which is basically special prosecutor, adjudged him to be essentially mentally incompetent, with poor memory, but a nice old guy. He's not old. You know, 81 is not old. I have friends that are 95 that are still. Bernie Marcus, founder of Home Depot, 95 years old, still sharp, still sharp. I spoke to him the other day. I said, I think you're smarter now than you were 30 years ago. I don't know what's going on. I said, what's going on? It's working every... 81 is not old. And, but he's different. He's a bad 81. He's a bad 81. And he's destroying our country, I'll tell you, and she's worse than he is. She is actually worse than he is because she's a real radical left. He's a phony radical left. He didn't believe this stuff. He didn't believe in open borders, and she does. She wants to open your borders. She wants to have all-electric cars. She loves the all-electric car mandate. She destroyed San Francisco. But she's the architect of the border invasion, trying to pretend she's strong on border security. She's now pretending that she was never called the border czar. She was called the border czar the first day. She's the border czar. And she never went. She actually went, you know, they say, they fact-check me. Anything I say is like a little. She actually went to a beautiful part of the border. I would love to take my First Lady wife there to have dinner. It's beautiful, very safe. No, she didn't go to the real border, did she, Front Row Joe? She went to a nice little place, was there for a short period of time and left. So she's never really been to the border, and she's the border czar, and our country's being invaded with people from prisons and people from mental institutions and terrorists. She's a failed vice president leading a failed administration while trying to convince you that she represents hope and change. Well, she does represent change. She wants to turn us into a communist country. That's her change. The contrast could not be more stark. On the one hand, you have a radical left puppet candidate who is fake, fake, fake. And on the other hand, you have a president who will fight, fight, fight for America. No matter how much Kamala Harris tries to change her image, she cannot change this fact. She is the most extreme liberal candidate in the history of our country by far. She's an extreme radical left lunatic. And you know, I've been saying for the last 6 months, I've been saying about politicians, because I really know politicians well. I've dealt with them on both sides, and you know, then I said, let's do this, you know, thank you. But when a politician comes out early on with an idea like she wants to defund the police and all these other things she wants to do, really bad things, that's where they're at. Kamala Harris co-sponsored Bernie Sanders' $32 trillion socialist takeover of the entire U.S. health care system. Think of this, U.S. health care, it would mean that we're gonna have to raise your taxes, bankrupt our country, and she supported outlawing all of the private health insurance. A lot of people in this room have some people want private health. Some of it's incredible. You go to these companies, they're doing an incredible job. They want to be able to, she wants that banned and she wants that outlawed. You can't buy that anymore. You're paying for it, but it's great stuff. I mean, some of the companies have unbelievable, the golden plans and all that, and she wants it to be ended. She pledged to give free taxpayer-funded health care to all illegal aliens. Think of that. Oh, and she'll do that, which will totally destroy our social security system. She sponsored a bill to give illegal aliens taxpayer-funded lawyers so they could sue us. And she called for abolishing ICE. She compared ICE agents to members of the KKK. She likened Border Patrol agents to practitioners of human slavery. We have a lot of those great people here tonight, like Brandon Judd, the head of the union, Paul. We have so many different people, and they didn't like that analogy too much. She voted in favor of deadly sanctuary cities numerous times. She supports open borders. That's all you'd have to hear. I think 2 words. You know, they say, sir, go down a list. We have a list of 25 things. All you really have to say is 2 things. Open borders, defund the police. The rest is all, but, you know, although she is going to kill Social Security, because by putting all of these illegal aliens into Social Security, it's dead. It's dead. She opposes even saying the words illegal alien and radical Islamic terrorists. She backs mass amnesty, and citizenship for all illegals. She supports mandatory gun confiscation. Would anybody mind, Mr. Congressman, would they mind having their guns ripped out of their arms as they enter their house or their apartment? I don't think so. I don't think. She said that 70 to 80% tax rate is, quote, a very bold idea, something that we have to discuss very seriously. She likes it. And you know, all my life I've watched politicians, and they've always said, we will reduce your taxes, we will reduce your taxes, we will cut your taxes. They want to give you a tax increase of 5 times what you're paying now. How the hell do you get elected? This country is so screwed up. Everything's backwards. We want open border, we want taxing. How do you like to be a politician? We want open borders, we want tax increases, we want all electric cars so that you can go 15 minutes before you charge it up. And for all the congressmen that are here, in the Midwest, they built 8 charging stations. Now, you know what that is? That's like a gas pump with electricity coming out of it, just a charging terminal. It cost $9 billion. Did you hear that, Mike? Did you hear that? Scott, he's another tough. We got tough congressmen here. These are tough cookies, these Pennsylvania guys. Wow, look at that. We're going to introduce them in a second. Scott. So they spent $9 billion on 8 charging stations, 2 of which never worked. I don't think any of them worked. She wants government intervention to slash consumption of red meat. They don't want red meat. That means they don't want your cows. Get rid of your cows. Would anybody like to keep red meat? Raise your hand. You know, think of it. Borders and electric mandate and all of the things. Red meat. Oh, how the hell do you get elected, right? You know how they got elected? By cheating. They get elected by cheating. This November, the American people are going to reject Kamala Harris's dangerous liberal extremism in a massive landslide. Too big to rig, right? Too big to rig. Too big to rig. We're not going to let her turn the United States into a communist San Francisco colony. We're not going to let it happen. That's what they want to do. They want to destroy our country. She's the worst. She was a bad DA long before you had your DA, long before you had some of these DAs that you have, as you know, in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, but in Los Angeles, all over the place, all over the place. You have bad DAs. You have radical left, horrible DAs that are funded by Soros and others, and they're weak. They're just weak on crime. They don't mind if somebody murders somebody. They don't want them to go to jail. You can kill somebody now. Our country is sick. The mindset of our country is sick. And we're not going to let her do to Pennsylvania what she did to California. She destroyed San Francisco, one of the best cities in the world, and it's in tatters. So she's a liberal from California. She ruined the state. She ruined one of the greatest cities in the world. Now let's examine the record of border czar Harris. She inherited the strongest border in U.S. history and immediately turned it into the worst border nightmare in the history of the world. There's no country in the world that's ever had a border like this. I think the real number is 20 million people, maybe more. Nobody knows. You know, you have a thing called gotaways. We have millions of gotaways, meaning people that weren't caught, they got away. Upon taking office, Harris and Biden stopped wall construction, halted all deportations, protected sanctuary cities, ended remain in Mexico and our asylum cooperation agreements, which are very important, and allowed a gigantic invasion of our country, bringing in millions and millions of illegal aliens at levels never seen before. Now, actually, other than that, I thought she's doing a very good job, right? She's done a wonderful job. She's the worst ever. And she's going to be your president. She will destroy our country. This November, the American people are going to compare these records, and they're going to tell border czar Harris, you have done a horrible job. You're a disgrace to our country. You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired. Get out. In one of the most astoundingly phony moments in her speech last night, Kamala Harris bragged that, quote, "I will proudly put my record against Donald Trump's any day of the week. I will put it against Donald Trump." This got one of the worst records in anywhere. Well, Kamala, let's go. Challenge accepted. Are you ready? Let's compare our record point by point. I can't believe I'm doing it. You know, the weird thing, I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was talking about Biden. I didn't even know her name. Nobody did. Kamala, hello. Beautiful. I didn't even know her name, Kamala. I heard she was a rotten border czar. That's about all I knew about her. Her only job was the border, and she never went there. But 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was all about Biden. Then I kept hearing they were going to steal it from him, and I said, you know, it's hard to do, because I understand when you have the delegates. He had all the delegates. He had 100% of the delegates. He had 14 million votes. I said, you can't really do it. But then they threatened him very strongly. They said, you're incompetent, and we're going to get you out. He just won, you know. No, they happened to be right. He was incompetent, but these are minor details. No, he just won. He had all the votes. And he could have said no, but he was afraid. And he's an angry man right now. Here's the big question I have. Will he be invited to the Democrat National Convention? Will he be invited? Mr. Congressman, I don't know. Now he will, because I'm mentioning it. If I didn't mention it, he would not be invited. But now they have to invite him. 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was talking about Biden. He's incompetent. He's a horrible president. He's the worst president in the history of the country. Now I say she's the worst vice president, which is true. She's considered the worst. She's the most unpopular vice president in the history of the country. She did a transformation. You know, the press is very corrupt. You know that. They gave her a transformation like Houdini. That was a Houdini-like, that was a magic trick. But don't worry, she's going to fall, because it's not about him or her, it's about the policies. They're the same, and they're horrible, right? But it's almost like you're having a fight between two guys, and one guy is getting beat up bad. Then he goes to a debate, right? The debate didn't work out too well. How did the debate work out for him? I don't think so good, Scott. The debate didn't work out exactly good. Then he tried to recover from the debate by going out every day, and it got worse and worse. It was a basic disaster. But it's like having two fighters, and the one guy's getting beat up really badly, and they say, all right, stop the fight. Come on out. I'll put a new one in. That's what we have here. Kamala is the new fighter. Who cares? Under my leadership, we achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. You know that, because you didn't have people sleeping on your lawn all night. We ended catch and release. We stopped asylum, fraud, coal. We got remain in Mexico. Remember that one? You think that was easy to get? I call up the president of Mexico, a friend of mine. He's a socialist, but still he was a friend of mine. He gave us many, many thousands of troops to guard our border while we were building the wall. I built hundreds of miles of wall, and then they didn't want to finish it up, which could have taken place very quickly. But think of it. But, you know, we got remain, think of it, remain in Mexico. That means you can't come into our country. You have to remain in Mexico until you get approved, of which very few people got approved. You think that was easy? That wasn't easy. Negotiated historic Safe Third agreements, which are complex. I won't waste your time, but they were great. With Central American nations, built 571 miles. Think of that, a border wall. We're going to add another 200, far more than I said I was going to build. And it was working. It was working. It was good. We had the best illegal immigration non-flow, I call it. They were having a hard time. Also, drugs were way down. Human trafficking was way down. It's human trafficking in women, mostly. You know, it sounds ancient, human trafficking. It sounds like something from 1,000 years ago, but it's as big a business, in a sense, as the drug business. And the reason is because of the internet. The internet made human trafficking a very, very big and horrible business. They traffic in women. They put them in the trunk of a car. They put them in the back seat, and they close it up, and you can't even breathe. And They bring them across the border. We had knocked it down cold, and now it's at a level 5 times greater than it ever was before. Nobody's there to check. Nobody's to look at the car. Nobody knows who's there, who's in it. But you can see it on a certain chart that I have. You know, this chart saved my life. Where is that chart? I love that chart. I'm going to sleep with that chart for the rest of my life, that chart. That chart. You know, the amazing thing, you know, the people that operate the computers and all the brilliant equipment we have backstage, she said to me, she's great, she's great. She should come out. Just tell her to come out here for a second. Quick, 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 quick. You got to get her out. She's never done this before. She saved my life, in a sense. I said, you saved my life. Here she is. Wow. Wow.
Hi.
No, she's a computer genius. She saved my life. No. So, you know, the story is, but that chart, I only used it probably less than 20% of the time. So in other words, we do the rallies and stuff. Sometimes I'll pull it down, sometimes I won't, because I do things a little bit at random while I'm up here. Hello, look at a big fella back there. But I do things a little bit at random. But two things about the chart. It's always on my left, which means I'm gone. It's always on my left. If it was on my left, I have Mr. Governor, Mr. Future Governor. I have no chance, because it would have been perfect hit. And it's only used a little bit. And I always use it at the end of a speech. I never used it early. In fact, you were saying today, we were really sort of flabbergasted because you called for it at the very beginning of your speech. And that chart, I'm so proud of it. Now I like it much more than I liked it before. But see the arrow on the bottom? That's the lowest level of illegal immigration in the history of our country recorded. And that was the last week of my presidency, Mike. So that was the last week, and look what happened to our country after that. Fact is, 4 years ago, we were respected like never before. I would say like never before. We were respected by China, by Iran. Look at Iran. Iran is going wild now, aren't they? You know, Iran was broke when I was president. They didn't have money to give to Hamas. They didn't have money to give to Hezbollah. You see what's going on now with Hezbollah now. You're going to end up in a world war. You're going to end up in a third world war pretty soon with this guy between Ukraine and Russia and the stupidity with what I will get that negotiated and ended before I ever take office. I'll do it after the election as president-elect. When we win this November, we will end the Biden-Harris war on American energy, and we will end their terrible war on fracking. Fracking is incredible. The money you make in Pennsylvania, you could quadruple your taxes. If you lost that industry, you could quadruple your taxes. The policy of the Trump administration will be to drill, baby, drill. Right? Right? I will also terminate the Biden-Harris electric vehicle mandate on day one and save the U.S. auto industry from destruction. We are going to rebuild our auto industry, and the United Auto Workers are mostly going to vote for me, but, you know, they have a head of the United Auto Workers who's a fool. He's giving our auto industry to China by allowing this electric mandate to even be thought of. And again, I'm all for electric cars. There's a certain little section that wants to have electric. I can understand that, but it's a small section. They want to have gasoline-powered cars. They want to have hybrids. And they're going to have that. They don't want to stop every 15 minutes. They refuse to stop. You know, I have a friend of mine got an electric car, and he was used to driving from Kentucky, great state, to Washington. And he'd drive, and, you know, he'd drive it. That would be it. Now he's driving it. He had to stop 6 times. He said, what the hell is going on? He thought it was good for the environment. It's not good for, you know, he's an idealistic kind of guy. I think I'm going to do something good for the environment. He got rid of that thing so fast, your head would spin. And it's great if you want to go to the candy store and back. Then you plug it in your garage. It's no wonder the Democrat Party and their thugs are so desperate to stop us. They know that we are the only ones who can stop them. The only ones. You know, this is a movement, Make America Great Again. This is a movement the likes of which no country but our country has never seen before. MAGA. MAGA! No country's ever seen anything like it. Remember when Biden would get up, we will stop MAGA. He had no idea. I said, Joe, do you know what it means? No, not really. No, it means make America great again. We don't want to stop it. Starting on day 1 of the Trump administration, we will end inflation and we will make America great again. We will deliver regulation cuts, energy price cuts, interest rate cuts, and we will drive prices down, and we'll drive them down very fast. We will pass massive tax cuts for workers, and that includes no tax on tips. To protect Pennsylvania jobs, I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status. I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. If China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 200% tariff or tax, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff or tax of 100 or 200% right back. You hurt us and we hurt you. It's an eye for an eye. Before I even arrive at the Oval Office shortly after we win the presidency, and it's we win the presidency, I mean that, I will have the horrible war between Russia and Ukraine settled. And I am the only one that can say it. I know all the players, and they respect us, they respect me, and they used to respect our country, but no longer. I will prevent World War III. That's where we're heading. We're heading to World War III, and you see it. I will restore peace through strength. Over and over again, our enemies have watched Biden and Harris signal a lack of will, total weakness to do what's necessary to protect American people and stand up for our allies.